Hey guys, and welcome to the second episode of the GVI Garage. Today's car needs no introduction. It was made famous in movies such as The Fast and the Furious and video games like Gran Turismo back in the 90s. This is a 1994 Mazda RX-7 FD, which is the third generation in the RX-7 lineup. This one sports the 13B twin turbo engine, which is a 1.3 litre Rotary. It is coupled to a 5-speed transmission and weighs about 1,300 kilos. Throughout its production between 1992 and 2002, there was about 60,000 examples produced all over the world, so this was not a Japanese-only vehicle. But today we're going to be diving into some of its features, going over the exterior, the interior, engine, and obviously our test drives. Quickly taking an overview of the RX-7's history. This model, like I said, was produced between 92 and 2002, which is quite a long time for a single designed Japanese car. Obviously throughout its life it did go through different model variants and different motorsport liveries and things like that. It was the first mass-produced sequential twin turbo car out of Japan, which was later followed by the Mark IV Supra, and then after that was the Subaru Legacy B4. And this particular model is in chastity white color, which was not uncommon. However, most of them did come in red. Yellow was also an option, and black. So to many purists and enthusiasts, the FD RX-7 was the last great rotary Mazda ever made. I'm not going to go as far to say that it is the best rotary they ever produced, because I'm sure that'll spark some debate online. However, its successor, the RX-8, failed in both the looks and the mechanical department, whereas the FD has an absolutely timeless design. I'm not going to say reliability is any better, however, we will go over all of its features now. So starting up the front here, down at the bottom of the bumper is the factory plastic lip, which kind of protrudes out a little bit, which I think is kind of cool. Then you have the fog lights, the Mazda RX-7 emblem, and these this was one of the last cars with pop-up headlights, which is kind of interesting. And then following down here to the front guard, there's a small vent there with the front caps and the end caps. There are no side skirts on this model. Let's cut to some of the exhaust footage. Moving on up the hatch, we can see the factory spoiler there, which a lot of people like to take off. They don't really like the look of it, however, I think it looks pretty cool. And then following the hatch line, you've got a very, very large rear window. And then taking a look at the wheels and tires. So these are the factory rims, 16-inch, wrapped in Michelin rubber. Like I said before, the car is not lowered. It is factory suspension. Moving down, the factory 4-pot front brakes, and then the rear just have single pot. So one of the coolest features of the Mazda RX-7 is the fact that the door handles are not actually on the metal body itself. As we can see up here, they're just next to the window. So you just pull it up, and then in the door card as well, there is no handle on the side. It's actually in the small little recess there. Alright, so moving on to the seats. These are the FD's factory supplied seats. They are a dark blue grey colour. And then moving down to the factory floor mats. Hopping inside the car. The dash is very clear, as we can see. Tacho on the middle, speedo on the right, all your accessories on the left. The center console is actually very driver orientated. It is more on an angle towards the driver. You have your AC, stereo, handbrake, and obviously gear selector, which is very nicely situated like the Type R Civic. So one of the most hilarious features about the RX-7 is the rear seats, or the lack of. If we just pull the driver's seat forward, so this is my normal seating position, which isn't actually too far back. However, as we can see here, there is virtually no room for the rear passengers. All right, taking a look in the hatch now. The first thing that's very apparent to us is this Bose speaker system, which is a very interesting design that I've never actually seen before in a car, but I feel like it is FD RX-7 exclusive. In terms of boot space, again, rear passengers probably have a better chance of sitting in here than they do in the rear seats. It is virtually non-existent, but it wasn't exactly designed for that. Taking a look inside the engine bay, we have the RX-7 strut brace, some lovely red silicon joiners, and just some facts about the 13B. It is a 1.3 litre rotary engine, which isn't a very common application. Mazda, we're pretty much the only Japanese, well, car manufacturer in the world to mass produce these engines. They are well received in the enthusiast community. However, in a daily practical application, some tend to argue that point. However, people do like them. They are extremely popular, which nonetheless makes them a good choice for car enthusiasts. So this 13B has two sequential turbos attached to it. They are Hitachi HT12s. The first one going on until about 4,500 RPM, with the second one kicking in shortly after, all the way up to the red line at 8,000. So now we're going to take it on a quick test drive, and I will show you what the RX-7 is capable of. Alright, so here we are on our test drive. Going to see what this little 13B is capable of. So one of the first things I've noticed about just driving it in the lower gears is you can definitely feel the first turbo hitting boost. It definitely picks up the revs a little bit faster. So we're going to stay in second gear. Not going to go too crazy. Hopefully we don't send any of the apex seals out the bonnet, but you never know with a rotary. Alright, let's go. So first impressions is you can definitely feel the turbos both kick in. 260-ish horsepower. The car does have a slightly modified exhaust, but other than that it is fairly stock. Popular modifications with the rotary engines is usually to do with the porting. So there's a bridge port, a peripheral port, semi-peripheral port, and a street port, just to name a couple. They all have their different kind of characteristics and definitely their distinctive sounds. If you wanted to listen to them, plenty of videos on YouTube. Just cruising here in fifth gear. The gearbox is nice and tight, no crunches or whines coming from it, which is nice. It is very quiet though, even with the exhaust. Usually they're quite loud and obnoxious, but I think that's why a lot of people like them. Alright, so we're about to get back on the motorway now. So the on-light ramps are on, so we'll pretty much be going 0 to 100. So it's pretty smooth. We only went up to 6,000 again. We obviously didn't take it too high. The roads are a bit greasy today. We don't want to be losing any traction, but it's stuck real nice. Just one thing to note about the FD, or this particular one, the interior is definitely showing signs of age. I mean, it is a car that is almost, well, it's 25 years old now. The plastics are a little bit brittle, but that's probably just from the sun wear. This car was only brought into New Zealand about a year ago, so for all of its life it was based in Japan. But I mean, it's tidy, it's just like I say, interior parts are a little bit brittle, a little bit rattly, like up there on the dash. See a bit of a piece missing, but nothing that's not fixable. Alrighty guys, thanks for tuning in to the second episode of the GVI Garage. Let us know what you liked in this one, and let us know what else you want to see. Unfortunately, this car is not for sale on our lot. This is one of the team members' cars. But next week we still have the opportunity of doing either the R33 Skyline GTR or a Mitsubishi Evo 3. But until then, we'll catch you next week.